Welcome to the next episode of the Austin Bar Association's Council of Firsts. I'm your host, Amanda Arriaga, First Latina Bar President. In today's episode, we're doing something a little bit different. We've partnered with the National Conference for Bar Presidents to do a series of interviews with bar leaders from around the country here in Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm happy to introduce you to all of these leaders that you might not know because they're not from Austin. Mark Calaguas is the president of AFIRE Chicago, the Alliance of Filipinos for Immigrant Rights and Empowerment, and we serve together on the Executive Council of NCBP. Mark is a data privacy attorney at Tayo. He's also a federal appointee on the Illinois State Advisory Committee of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights and is on the working group for the Privacy and Safety Framework at the XR Safety Initiative, an organization promoting privacy, security, and ethics in immersive environments like virtual reality, mixed reality, and augmented reality, aka the metaverse. Mark is a past president of the Filipino American Lawyers Association of Chicago, founding board member of the National Filipino American Lawyers Association, and a current board member of the Asian American Bar Association of the Greater Chicago Area and the Filipino Young Leaders Program. I'm so pleased to introduce you to Mark Calaguas. Mark, thank you so much for being here today. And I want to start at the beginning and ask, why did you want to be a lawyer?
Well, long story short, I got weeded out of STEM. It's kind of a more glib answer. I'm a child of immigrants, Filipino immigrants to be specific, and this is a very common, almost a cliched scenario of being steered towards certain career paths, medicine and healthcare, because, that generation, they were specifically recruited here for that reason, fill in some labor shortages. And this has been a phenomenon that's been, going on for decades. That is the environment that I grew up with. As I got into high school and then later college, I just realized, where, my own personal strengths truly lie. Research and then communicate and, write and argue persuasively. I declared as a English and comparative literature major. But then, of course, what do you do with that, right? I would definitely tell students, before you make that decision to go to law school, inform yourself a little bit more than I did. In hindsight, I do think it was the right decision for reasons that I didn't expect. I am the first person in my family to enter this profession. But first, it was a little bit isolating because no one could really relate to what I was going through. But now, being one of the few Filipinos, there really is a unique role that lawyers play for our community. We're trained to engage with institutions of power, and our community really needs folks to speak up for them or to amplify their voice. And it could be on the big things, right? Such as advocating for a more humane and welcoming immigration system, or specific to our community, getting justice for the veterans who served in World War II. And then after the war, Congress actually rescinded their benefits. And in the decades since, they've been fighting just to get what they were promised. There's still a lot of work on a day-to-day basis. Having that understanding and being comfortable with our institutions can really be an asset to our elders and other family members, whether it's helping guide them through fine print in some government documents or helping them make sense of scary sounding letter. I see now in later years, they turn to me to ask those questions. It comes with the privilege of having access to this knowledge.
Well, it's interesting. There are a lot of guests I've had that have said that their parents wanted them to be doctors, and we're always trying to explain lawyers are just as good as doctors. But I've never heard it described as it's because we engage with institutions of power. So now I'm going to tell everybody that and say that's why we're so special. That's what we do, is we engage with institutions of power. You made that sound very...
Call them into account when it need be.
Yeah, you made that sound very exciting and dramatic, and I'm going to steal that from you, but I'll make sure that you get credit for it.
I may have picked that up from somewhere else, but, I'm going.
Well, I heard it from you, so that's where it started. So you're the president of AFIRE Chicago, the Alliance of Filipinos for Immigrant Rights and Empowerment. Tell us about AFIRE and what projects you're most proud of.
Sure. So AFIRE is a grassroots nonprofit that organizes Filipinos in the Chicagoland area on issues of racial, social, and economic justice. It was founded in 2006 by anti-martial law activists from the Philippines. And once they started building their lives here in the U.S., they decided to focus those energies on issues that were confronting immigrants. And you might recall during that time, it was another wave of anti-immigrant sentiment and proposed legislation. So that's what spurred them to form this organization. We're thrilled to have been around for 18 years now, heavily involved in civic engagement and get out the vote and political education. Back in 2016, we were part of a multiracial and multi-ethnic coalition that helped pass the Illinois Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. And it was through that campaign, we really doubled down on that type of organizing. A lot of our community members are domestic workers. They deserve the same protections as somebody working in an office or a factory. We've been active in getting a paid sick leave ordinance passed. We were part of efforts to get Tagalog language voting materials in certain wards in Chicago. For this coming year, we are embarking on an oral history project with the Filipino Young Leaders Program funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities to collect the stories of our elders, these experiences that are often ignored, but also to help our organizers understand how experiences of things like war and migration can affect how somebody civically engages as they build their new lives in America.
So you're also a founding board member of the National Filipino American Lawyers Association. And I know that in Chicago, there's a lot of different bar organizations that you could be a part of. So why was it so important to create this organization?
AFIRE has been around since 2012. I got involved in 2014. That was a really pivotal time because on the local end, there were also efforts to revive a formerly defunct Filipino Bar Association. So that's FALA Chicago. So this was happening in tandem with some overlap of the same people. I am blessed to be in Chicago where if I do want to get in touch with my roots, there is a vibrant Filipino community. And there's no shortage of organizations for that purpose. We have a very huge bar community. There's many opportunities for me to get involved there. What is unique about AFIRE Chicago is that it really speaks to the unique experiences of being both Filipino and an attorney. A lot of us are the first ones to enter this profession, at least in this country. The support network really helps you navigate a lot of the challenges of establishing your career and thriving and navigating some unwritten rules about how to advance in the profession, whether it's pursuing the partnership track, judicial appointment, or running for office. It's really important that we learn from those who blaze those trails before us, take advantage of that institutional memory, that collective wisdom. Otherwise, we'll keep having to learn the same lessons over and over again.
So since you've seen so much by looking at all of these generational issues that have come before you, how well do you think the legal community is doing in getting more diverse, equitable, and inclusive?
Coming from an affinity bar, there's always things to celebrate and a lot of things to still challenge. The last few months have been amazing in certain respects. In the last 2 or 3 months alone, 4 Filipino-American attorneys were appointed judge in the state of California. In Illinois, in 2021, we broke a 16-year drought of new Filipino judges. And since then, we've added to the ranks of FALA Chicago members at a rate of 1 per year. So we're very thrilled and we're very proud of that. This is against the backdrop of continued research and findings, the dismal results in terms of attorneys of color breaking through to the ranks of senior leadership, a managing partner, GC, the judiciary. When you look at the federal level, in the entire country, we still only have 1 federal district court judge, and we only have 1 federal circuit court judge. We still have a lot of barriers to break.
What does NCBP mean to you?
So NCBP came a very opportune time in my bar career. In 2020, Aurora Austriaco took the presidency. Aurora, of course, is a beloved mentor for us in Chicago. She was pivotal in setting up our predecessor bar organization, and she continues to be a very supportive sponsor for us. At that time, I was also vice president of FALA Chicago. Aurora reached out to me and encouraged me to apply to be a diversity scholar. Very hard to say no to someone like Aurora. Looking towards my presidency in 2021, I figured this is perfect opportunity to get involved and to learn from my peers. I can hit the ground running when my term begins in 2021. That was a very chaotic year. Having that network of other bar leaders to work through some of the issues of how do we provide adequate programming or financial sustainability for our bar organizations, that really was a gift.
What advice do you have to lawyers who want to follow in your footsteps?
Cultivate a healthy degree of self-awareness and introspection. Identify the values that are important to you. Figure out what are the ideas and the causes that excite you. That could be a guide to help steer your career towards a path that aligns with your own personal goals. Seek out community. A lot of the challenges we face are not unique to our own individual situation. That collective wisdom of folks who have navigated these problems, it's a very crucial resource. Be a lifelong learner. Try to be the best lawyer you can be. Pay attention to the wider world around you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I think the audience is going to love your story and all of your comments. And I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Amanda.